there, I want to talk to you about some of the simple fundamentals that are really important for a junior golfer to understand, not only to better their golf game, but to allow them to have more fun when they go out and they go play. So, first thing we got to talk about is the grip, how we put our club in our hands. We're going to take the left hand for a right-handed golfer first and put it on. We're going to put the club in the palm of the hand and wrap our fingers around. You're going to notice that there's this V created, this angle, and to make sure that our hand is in the right spot, we want that angle to be pointed up at our right ear or our right eye, somewhere in that range. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other hand. Put it in the shaft in the middle of the palm. We're going to wrap our fingers around it, and again, you're going to see another angle created, another V created, and that V is going to point up towards your left eye or your left ear, somewhere in that range. The next thing we have to figure out, well, okay, that's nice, but what do you do with the rest of your fingers? For junior golfers, there are two really good options, especially since at that level, their hands are still really tiny on a really big golf club. Really tiny golfers, you'll notice that they're going to do what's called the baseball grip, where all 8 of these fingers are in line and touching. You'll also see some do what is called the overlap grip, where they take the pinky of the right hand and they put it just sitting in the crease between the pointer finger and the middle finger. And then finally, what you're going to see a lot of PGA Tour pros, collegiate players, more advanced players, people that have bigger hands and maybe have even hit puberty, use is what we call the interlock. So you put the hands on just as normal, but this time the pinky is woven in between the pointer finger and your middle finger. And then finally with grip, we need to talk about grip pressure. I like to tell junior golfers that it's like they're holding a bird in their hands. They don't want to squeeze it too tight, otherwise they're going to hurt the bird. But they don't want it to be too loose either, otherwise they're going to let it go and they're not going to hit the ball very well. So I say, hold your bird like a 5. On a scale of 1 to 10, you want to hold it like a 5 so that you're not going to let the bird go away, but you're not going to hurt it. This allows the junior golfer to swing athletically and also swing very much freely. We have to talk about next is posture. And this is really critical for junior golfers because they're constantly going through growth spurts. Their body lengths and sizes are all changing, and posture is the constant in the golf game. So it's really important to have it. The next topic we're going to talk about is posture, which is one of the most important things a junior golfer can achieve. Good posture. Why? Because they're always going through growth spurts. Oh my God. The next topic we're going to go over is posture. This is really, really important for junior golfers because a lot of them are going through major growth spurts. And so their awareness of where their body is in space gets pretty warped. And so it's important for them to find ways to be able to check their posture so that it will help them to make swings more effortlessly. So if you're looking at me from this angle, which we call down the line, you're going to notice a few things. You're going to have a slight knee flex. If my knees are not locked, not squatting, I'm just kind of bent over a little bit. You're also going to notice the tricep of my arm is just over that knee. If I drew a line, you would see them lining up. And this allows a tall but bent over athletic posture for us to start making your swing on. If a player has a really hard time getting into this position, I like to do this with them, which is start out with your arms straight with the grip on properly. You pull in your arms a tiny little bit, and then you just hip hinge into the position. Wherever that club head lands is typically where your ball needs to be at address. So that'll also help your ball position, which we'll talk about a little bit more as well. And then if you're looking at me from face on, there are a couple of things that you should notice. Number one, my hands are slightly in front of the club head and the ball. Our clubs are designed that way on purpose so that it helps us to hit down and get the ball. What you're also going to notice is that my weight is a little bit on my left. My left hip is a little bit higher than my left. And my right shoulder shoulder is going to be lower than my left shoulder. Why? So that we can help to get the ball up. Okay, so the next thing we talk about is ball position. And the thing with ball position, general rule of thumb with kids who are just learning what different clubs do, where ball positions are supposed to be, I say the longer the club is, the closer to your driver you are, the closer you are to the lead foot, and the closer you are to like your sand wedge, the closer to like the middle of your stance that you are going to be. So if I'm setting up to these golf balls, this will be my wedge. This will be my 7-iron, and this ball will be my driver. The importance of this ball position is that the longer the club gets, it changes the low point of impact. So the shorter the club is, because of the bottom of the arc, it's going to be more towards the middle, whereas the club that's farther away from me, the bottom of the arc is actually going to be further away from me and out in front of me a little bit more. So it's important that when you do ball position, you make sure that the shorter the club is, the more the middle of your stance, the longer the club is, the more in the front of your stance. And then for junior golfers trying to get into their setup, what we like to do is have them put the club head down behind the ball, put their feet together, and then step into the position that they need to be in. And again, this is still shoulder width apart. As we get to a longer club like a driver, we know that with the driver we need to be closer to our lead foot. And so we're going to start with our feet together, a little baby step with that lead foot, and a bigger step with our right foot. That gets that ball a little bit forward in our stance and ready to smack some. The next thing we're going to talk about is alignment. And this is really, really important for junior golfers as well. The big thing for them to understand is the face, the role of the face. The face is where the ball is going to start. So it's really important that we walk into the ball and we make sure that the face is pointing at our target. So I put down this white stick, which symbolizes our face and target line. And then I also set up this blue stick because our bodies are not going to be on that line. We can't stand like this. Doesn't make any sense. We make sure that the face is down that line and our bodies are parallel to that line so that we can hit a straight shot and a consistent shot. And then, knowing that that face does that, we set the face behind the ball. We put our feet together. I know I have a wedge in my hand, so I need it to be in the middle or the back of my stance. And then I go step, step. And now I have all the pieces together. So we can do what we call a pre-shot routine. And if you haven't heard of Vision 54, I absolutely love what they do, especially for new golfers and for junior golfers, because it separates the process of thinking, your practice routine, from actually hitting balls. A lot of kids don't want to focus on the practicing part of it. They want to just go whack balls. But they don't get the benefits out of that. They really get the benefit out of practicing a process. So this is our dividing line between the think box and the play box. So in our think box, we're going to practice our whole routine, which is we're going to put the proper grip on. We're going to do our little get into posture setup. And we're going to try making some swings. See what kind of swing is enough to get us to the target that we're going at. And once we feel like we have everything kind of locked in, we can go into the play box. Put the club head down behind the ball, make sure that we're pointing it at the target, making sure our body is in line, parallel to it, step, step. Got everything locked in and we're ready to go. Is pivot and energy. And it's important that people to understand that in order to have efficiency and energy, we have to be able to not only create resistance in our body and using the ground, but we also have to use smaller movements to make big results. So if I take the butt end of this club and I want to make this club head move, you'll notice that the top end of the club, the butt end of the club, is not moving a whole lot, right? but look how big the circle is at the bottom compared to the top. That's kind of what we want in our golf swings. We want stability and rotation so that we can turn a coil. That way we can transfer all of that energy back down into the ball. There are 3 really important parts to a pivot. Number 1 is that coil, that winding up in our golf swings. Everything rotates back. And the best way to practice this at home is you put your butt on a wall and you get into your golf posture. And you have to stay in the middle and rotate your body back. Reach and touch that wall. So, middle, reach back, your butt stays on the wall, your shoulder doesn't come up and touch it, your butt doesn't come off the wall. You turn back and get your arms to touch that wall. You'll feel a lot of weight on your right side, you'll feel your hips have turned a lot, your upper body followed it, and you're gonna feel a lot of tension. That is the coil. That is energy built up that you're ready to transfer back down into the ball. You're also going to want to have a horizontal or sideways shift of energy. So in the pivot, everything has to go to the right. As I said, when you're doing this wall drill, you're going to notice that your energy goes into the right, and that's our lateral force. So over there, onto the right, into that right heel. So a drill that you can do at home to work on your horizontal shifting are lateral broad jumps or skiers. So you start on one right foot, you hop, land on your left foot. And you can do a bunch of these, and you can see how many you can do in 30 seconds, or you could go. And then finally, what's really important in energy in your pivot is a consistent tempo. It's going to be really hard for you to get that coil if you go for days. It's going to be really hard if you get fast and your body gets out of sync. Synchronization is really, really important in golf because you have 95% of your muscles firing at one time in less than 1.5 seconds. So it's really important to have good timing. A lot of people like to practice with a metronome. I believe most people will practice at 71 beats per minute. You can download a free metronome app and you just stay at home and you hear the beep, tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock. And what's really important is the tock. You want to hear the whoosh at the bottom. Hand speed is also really important for energy as well. And you want to hear a whoosh at the bottom, at where the ball is going to be. So sometimes what I have a lot of juniors do is they take their club, they go upside down, and they go. They want to hear that whoosh here. They don't want to hear it, because then way too early, they're going to hit the ground, they're going to be all off, they're going to try to compensate. You don't want it too late either. Otherwise, it's inefficient as well. So they want to make sure that they hear it at the bottom. Trevor and I here at Let Better Golf Academy as the fitness instructors get asked a lot by the junior golf parents who come to the fitness sessions with their child, how do I get them to gain distance? How do I get more club head speed? And it's a pretty long answer depending on the child. It really is a case-to-case situation. One of the big things that I stress to the parents, and they don't necessarily love hearing it, but it is in the long run the most beneficial, is that prior to being 13, 14 years old, they shouldn't specialize in golf. No child before that should really specialize in one activity. When they play multiple sports, they not only gain a lot of great people skills, because golf is such an individual sport. By playing team sports, they learn sportsmanship, integrity, all that. But by playing other sports such as, for example, I grew up playing soccer, you learn how to build speed through the ground. You learn agility. You learn how to make one leg stable while the other one is mobile. You learn a lot of physical skills that actually translate into your golf game. So when I was a junior golfer, I was 12, 13, was still playing half of the year soccer, half of the year golf, maybe even more so soccer. My golf game really benefited because I was one of the longest hitters, because I had developed the coordination through my legs and through the ground to be able to build and generate power that I could put into the ball. So for young kids I highly recommend that you don't specialize. I say that, and I also say it's really never too early to start fitness. And I'm not saying workout. Working out to me is weight training. It's what you see the PGA Tour guys doing in the gym with the big deadlifting and the squatting. They're not ready for that by any means. Their bodies are still growing, and you don't want to force a child that's in growth spurts to be doing that. It can disrupt their growth fundamentally. Now, when they get to be 13, 14, 15, that's when we really start to introduce that weight, that resistance. And hopefully prior to that, they've been doing workouts so that their body can manage the load when they eventually are ready to handle the load. That way they have functional biomechanical movements of their golf swing, of basic principles in fitness, and they can take it into the gym and quickly get those gains that they want to get early on with the weight. Speed is also not necessarily just about fitness. It's about proper equipment. I highly recommend that you don't necessarily give a player equipment they're not ready to handle. Don't give them stiffer shafts than their strength is willing to manage. Don't give them clubs that are far too long just because they're going to grow into them. The problem with giving them the clubs that are too long is that they're going to have to learn to compensate in their posture, in their setup, the basic fundamental things. A lot of kids with clubs that are too long, they go stand up like this, and then they have a hard time swinging on an arc, and then contact gets all over the place. So proper equipment is really, really important. Making sure that they have good biomechanics, so good setup, good grip, making sure that they work regularly with an instructor to make sure that their fundamentals of their swing are intact. Because as we talked about before with the club, if you can make these little movements super efficient, the club head that's traveling the long distance is going to be able to get the result that you want and gain distance as well, gain speed. So now we need to talk about the various positions in the golf swing that you can check when you're analyzing. Typically the teacher will look at this for you and notice a few different things that may or may not be efficiently working well, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to kind of go through some general things to look for in these positions. So the first one is just the takeaway. So that's literally this move. That's it. My hands are still in front of my chest. The club head is slightly outside of my hands at this point. To get to that position, my whole body moved. There was a little lateral shifting, a tiny bit of coil, but mostly just a lateral shift. Everything is pretty straight. You kind of create a Y with the body here. Then we go to halfway back, and at this point, my wrists are fully cocked. So they're both hinged and bent. This is also the point in the swing where we get a little bit more rotation out, and we start to get that coil happening in our golf swings to start building up that energy. We also have that forearm, really the whole arm, parallel to the ground, and we have the majority of our weight on that right leg. And then when we get to the top, that's when our full body turn happens. Our back is pointing to our target, and we have about 80% of our weight in that right foot, in particular in that heel. That's when we know that we're really coiled. At the top with our hands, we also notice that the left hand is relatively flat, and that this right forearm is on the same angle, the same parallel line to my spine. All right, now on the way down, halfway down, this is where we in the backswing, we had seen this leg pretty straight and this one bent. We're going to start to see the opposite happen as we start to shift laterally left. We're going to start to, and then rotation's also happening. We're going to start to see this leg straighten and this one start to bend a little bit. We're also going to see the club head not quite drop yet. So we're just keeping this extension. Arm is straight, club's behind us. And it's going to be just outside our hands as we get to parallel again. Okay, so coming down to impact, we notice quite a few things happen. number one. This knee starts to straighten even more. This knee bends and it actually starts to kind of lean in to the center of our bodies while this heel is popping up in the air a little bit. We also have our hips pretty open at this point, roughly about 45 degrees if you're looking for a measurement. We have the shaft leaning left, meaning that my hands are going to be slightly out in front of the ball to make sure that I'm hitting down and compressing the ball. And then we're going to go to the release. So my hands hinge again. This time my right arm is the straight one at parallel, and my left arm is the one that is bent. We have a nice body rotation still happening, and then you just kind of fold up and get to your finish. All right, let's see if I can hit a good one. I'll hit a little knockdown because I'm aimed at a building.